Welcome to episode 82 of the Nerd Rundown podcast. All the way, Uncle Frank. Coming up this week on the big show, BigMorg is back, and you know what that means, shenanigans and video games. Jedi Survivor looks amazing, and both Darren and Morg can't wait. DC is loading up on the drama right now with a ton of canceled projects, actors shuffling roles, and potentially some layoffs of Superman and Wonder Woman. 2 words, Avatar. 9-foot-tall blue cats are hitting theaters this week. It's some big news on the sequel front. Have your favorite nerd seeing too much blue? Some MCU news coming out of the House of Mouse, and I become an election denier. Just not that election. Meg gives us a great nerd box question about your kids and their Christmas presents. Ready? Hit it.
Hey nerds, welcome back to the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm Darren Stemple, and with me today is my co-pilot, Eric Hare.
I'm your Huckleberry. That's just my game. That was better than the first round. The first round of intros
I kind of liked the first
did
round.
not go well, folks. Did not go well. Through the magic of editing, you'll hear that one.
Yeah. I just want to hear it over and over again.
Maybe the outtakes. We'll do the outtakes.
Yeah, we definitely need outtakes. Finally, back on the show with us today. You guys may know him. The BigMorg 3000. Morgan Santo.
Good to be back.
We're just going to put the Tony clip over.
Yeah, it is.
I like to say it. It helps get me in the mood for the rest of the show. I'm ready.
Love it. I love the Tony clip. Like I said on the last week's rundown, we had another great week of comments. Thank you very much. That Tony clip hits every time, Eric. Great job on that.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Yes,
Speaking of comments online, you can find us on our social medias like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, all at the Nerd Rundown. While you're there, hit the like and subscribe buttons anywhere you can find them. Leave a comment. We need more Nerd Box questions. Meg submitted another banger one this week, but we don't want it to be the Meg box. We want it to be the Nerd Box. And so leave us some Nerd Box questions so we can answer them. Last week's was so much fun. We got a lot of great feedback again on that one. Meg, great job. Looking forward to this week's. But if you are not a YouTube person, you want to find us on audio only, you'll find us anywhere. There are major podcast services. Before we get to a really awesome rundown, let's hear a word about our sponsor, Combat the Chaos. Hey nerds, do you support your veterans and first responders? Well, here at the Nerd Rundown, we support our heroes, and not just the heroes that you see behind me that are drawn to wear a cape or throw a shield, but the real heroes who would lay their lives down so that we can talk about whatever kind of nerd we are. At the Nerd Rundown, our new sponsor, Combat the Chaos, is a veteran-owned clothing company. They donate portions of all their profits to veteran and first responder supporting organizations that are focused on mental health and suicide prevention. Veterans are at a 57% higher risk of suicide instead of those who have not served. This shirt is one of the items you can purchase if you follow our link to find them on Instagram at combat.the.chaos, or at their website, combatthechaos.com. And use the code NRD for 15% off. Now, back to the Nerd Rundown. Okay, Morgan, you're back on the rundown. And as soon as I watched this trailer, I wanted to hear your opinion on it. I know a little bit of what you thought, but last week, in the past week, I should say, we got the trailer for the much anticipated, the hotly anticipated, the very anticipated sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor. And I loved it. I'll just say that. And then get you back on the show right away with your thoughts on the Jedi Survivor trailer.
I was absolutely pumped the second that trailer popped up and we knew what it was. We've been waiting for the sequel for a little while now. We knew it was going to happen. Well, at least we assumed it would with how successful the first one was.
Yeah.
So seeing the trailer, I was like cheering, like I felt like I was in the audience, like cheering for it. But it looks like they're adding some new mechanics. It looks like they're putting some mounts in it. Possibly, I mean, it could just be a section of the game where you have it, but they do show him kind of gliding around. Looks like they're adding that feature. So, I mean, to me, that just means, grappling hook. So to me, that means a bigger world this time. Not that the last one was small, but I think we're going to get a lot more in this as far as exploring and more detailed worlds if it's with those mechanics in it. Now, do we know who's in the tank?
No.
Right, we still don't know. So,
do you have a theory on that?
I don't. I mean, I know there's some theories about. Didn't people say like maybe Star Killer?
Yep.
From
that was debunked.
Okay, so it was debunked. Yeah, that's the only theories I've heard, but I have no idea. I think it's just going to be a new character.
Yeah, I would think it'd be cool to bring in Star Killer that way, but does that also diminish the amazingness of the Force Unleashed games if you do that, because it's different? But anyway, what do you think is going to be so with the previous one, the best part was creating your own lightsaber, customizing it to how you want. That's looks to be a big part of this game as well. Still, probably be able to customize Cal a little bit more, which, by the way, that hairdo, oh my gosh.
The beard.
Digging that look. What do you think is going to be the new kind of cool thing in this game, and or what do you hope it to be?
Honestly, I don't think there's going to be kind of like a cool thing in this one compared to that. I think this one, the big change is going to be the traversal.
Okay.
Between the gliding and things like that. I think
you can ride stuff. It looked like you can ride stuff. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. They might expand the lightsaber, they could have, because they did show the
cross guard
lightsaber. So maybe they'll expand like the options and what you can pick and do.
The smart way to have a cross guard lightsaber.
Oh yeah.
It is actually something in between your hand and the lightsaber when you do that. Eric, from an outsider's perspective, I know you've played a little bit of Fallen Order. I don't think you played the whole game. Either way, you watched the trailer. What were your first thoughts?
Spoiler: he survives.
So this one's not a prequel to the.
It would be very Star Wars of them, though.
Yeah, I mean the trailer looked it looked cool. I don't know if we'll play it or not, but right now we have the Google Stadia, which is like a online service that you can buy, and so that game Fallen Order came up on it as a free game that we could play, and so we played it a little bit. Jackson played it a little bit, but I think it was a little bit too tough for him, and I just wasn't into it enough to play it. So, but I always thought the cutscenes in it were pretty cool, and the challenge and stuff like that was pretty neat. So, this one looks more gorgeous.
Yeah, that works.
Meg,
gorgeous.
I don't know.
Yes.
Better. It looks gorgeous.
Megan
I'll just say that, and I think it looks really, really great. I think the gameplay, I don't know. We'll see what happens, because they did show a lot of gameplay, but I don't know if it's going to be that big of a jump from from the first version of it to this version of it, to see if they're going to add in some new stuff or whatever. But other than that, I think it looks pretty cool, and anything to further the Star Wars universe in a positive way, I think is good. And it was funny, when we were at Disney, the kids have these trading pins that you can get, and so they're like these little lapel pins, and they have lapel pins for everything, like just all kinds of stuff. And so you go into the shops there, and they have these boards, and you can swap out your pins for other pins on there, and so they'll put all these pins on there, and they had a Cal Kestis pin on there, and Amelia goes, oh, they have a Star Wars Cal Kestis one. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, who's that? And I was like, don't worry about it. It's all right. And the girl behind the desk just laughed. She's like, yeah. And so I was like, you're not into it, so it's really not worth trading, whatever.
Right. That's funny because I feel like that's the one I would go for.
Yeah.
It's Calca. That's so cool.
Yeah. So So anyhow, I think it looks pretty good. So we'll see how it comes along. But
hopefully this
I know you
game's
guys
a
are a lot more
success.
pumped up for it than I am. So
I know. I hope this game's a success, and that means we're one step closer to getting Cal and some live action.
Live action, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, it first of all, this goes into the whole, and part of what you said, Eric, it goes into the whole like Star Wars. Star Wars is a very siloed fan base right now. There's silos for the Mandalorian, silos for the prequels, silos for the sequels, silos for the original trilogy, OT, yeah, and so on and so forth. And now there's probably definitely silos around Andor.
Which brings up a good nerd box question. Is it Star Wars A New Hope, or is it just Star Wars?
Oh, well,
originally just Star Wars.
Originally it was just Star Wars. I actually was watching a Star Wars reaction earlier, just YouTube holes. And I forget where I was going with this. I was like, am I a prequel fan? Because I got into the original trilogy in the mid 90s when they were like released in theaters. That's when I kind of got into them with like the first special edition.
A little extra added footage.
But I was like, I was at the height of my Star Wars nerdum during the prequels. And it's like the prequels were really what set my Star Wars nerdum on fire. So I was like, I don't know if I'm.
Well, that's the thing. The sequels help you appreciate the prequels more too.
The sequels or the
sequel, like having seen the sequels and how we know they could just mess up everything.
Oh yeah,
you go, the prequels, totally. Maybe they weren't that bad.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. Yeah. I think I think
the original trilogy was awesome. Like I loved it. Everybody got into it, and then they made those shitty prequels, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." The original trilogy is so good, and then they made the sequels, and you were like, "Holy shit!" The prequels are actually decent. Like,
all of a sudden you're over there going, maybe I hate sand. Wasn't such a bad
like this tasted like a big crap sandwich.
I mean,
but then I took a bite of that, and that was an even
time.
bigger crap sandwich. And now it's like, which makes this crap sandwich actually taste better. So,
and now Andor happens, and you're like, all of Star Wars sucks compared to Andor.
I don't know about that, but.
Everybody, just so you know, Morgan hasn't seen Andor, so we won't talk about it.
No, I'm three. Like I said, 3 or 4 episodes, whatever I want to tell you that week.
We'll move on, but we are very excited.
Yes,
when we get to next year and we have the expansion of the Nerd Rundown in some ways, Fallen Order or Survivor will be a part of something we do, whether it's an episode around it. It
comes out 3 days after my birthday.
Oh shit! Birthday boy. Cannot wait. So looking forward to it. Next on the rundown, this was a hard one not to put at number 1, but it was just wanted to start off happy before we got to the drama. Man, did we have a big week in the DC Studios drama saga we've been in, which we thought was like coming to a close. James Gunn, Peter Safran were named co-heads of DC. And we weren't sure what their plan was. So, a lot of this might not come as a big surprise, but we're going to tackle each basically character by character here. Because what came out in the last week is a big shakeup, and it affects just about every property they have, just about, starting with the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. The Hollywood Reporter reported that there won't be a Man of Steel sequel, and that Henry Cavill jumped the gun, use air quotes around gun, Gunn, because he announced his return as Superman the day before James Gunn was announced as the new head. So I don't know if the old regime go ahead and announce it. James Gunn's gonna be totally cool about it or what. Then now James Gunn's turned down pitches for the sequel to Man of Steel 2. It's totally up in the air whether we're going to get a Man of Steel sequel. James Gunn has said that the Man of Steel is a priority, but he meant it in the character of Man of Steel, and not necessarily referring to the movie. But the Man of Steel remains the priority for DC. So holy crap, Eric. Let's just hear your thoughts on Man of Steel's drama going on.
Well, holistically, I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing. I really don't. I think James and Peter are trying to set themselves up for a 10-year game plan.
Yep.
And that may mean jettisoning Henry and Gal and all those guys from the characters, because they really need, maybe they really do believe that they just need a clean break and a fresh start with a new set of actors, which is really a shame, because I've really enjoyed Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. I really have enjoyed him as Superman. And knowing that he's a pretty big nerd, that kind of breaks my heart, that he's not going to be able to continue to be that character. But I think James Gunn and I think Peter really just have to kind of figure out together. And we may be, no pun intended, this is going to be hard to do as we move forward with James Gunn being in the conversation all the time, but we may be jumping the gun here too. And James is actually playing his cards really close to the chest. Is going to go, you know what? We've got a great actor in, and fans love him. They love Henry Cavill. They love Gal as Wonder Woman. But the directions these sequels have been going in is crappy, and we need to figure out a way to restart these guys. And so we're not going to call it a Man of Steel 2, because it's not a Man of Steel 2. Like we're going to call it Superman or something else. They're going to do something different. So the fact of the matter is, this is all speculation, and it's all like, it's all, and this goes for everything that we're going to talk about, with not just him, but with Wonder Woman and all the different characters. They're going to run out the clock on these projects that they've got in the can already. And then you'll see things really start to move forward. But I think they're going to run out to the Shazam. They're going to run out, I think, as much as they don't like or want to, the Flash, I think they're going to run that one out there. And I think the only reason why is because it's going to cost them too much not to run that one. I'm sure it's
already invested so much money.
And I'm sure that is, I'm sure that the project, all these projects are insured. So, if they don't run it out there, they're going to claw some money back from that. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Black Adam. I don't know what's going to happen to the Shazams. I don't know what's going to happen with any of this stuff. I don't think anybody does, except for the two guys in charge and the team that they're putting together out there.
Right.
But I do know one thing. I know we haven't seen anything, and maybe he just hasn't. He's earned my respect, and he's earned my appreciation. So I'm going to trust in Kevin Feige. I'm going to trust in DC's Kevin Feige, and say I trust in James Gunn. I do. Yeah. I trust that he's going to put together a good game plan, and if that means I have to say goodbye to Henry Cavill as Superman, then I have to say goodbye. And same thing with Gal. I've enjoyed both of those people in those characters, and I think we've already said goodbye to Ben Affleck. I don't think he's going to return as the character. I think Robert Pattinson is probably going to be your Batman moving forward, or at least in a separate universe for a little bit till that runs its course again. We may be looking at, maybe they're giving Matt Reeves 2 movies and they're saying, hey, you're going to get a trilogy. You can do the Batman and 2 more movies. And then after that, we'll need that character for what we're putting together, so because it's going to be 5 years before you see anything coming out from what these guys are planning right now. They'll get started probably in the next year or so, and you'll probably see a Superman movie in 3 years, because they haven't even started putting anything together, and same thing with Wonder Woman. So you'll probably see some sort of, something in the next 2-3 years. So they probably won't even need Batman for another for probably 5 years. And so you let Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson do their thing for a couple more Batmans, and you wrap up that, and then you reintroduce Batman, or you pull him in, he seems a little too emo for me, but I don't know, I don't know
change
what we'll see.
Well,
but yeah, so that's kind of my thought. And it's a little scatterbrained. I'm still kind of trying to piece this all together and into kind of a coherent thought, but
well, we do have some stuff here confirmed, right? So for the record, Wonder Woman 3 is definitely a no-go, Morgan.
Well, Wonder Woman 3 with Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, done. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Doesn't mean Wonder Woman's dead. Doesn't mean that Gal's dead as Wonder Woman.
That's not what I said. I said Wonder Woman 3.
Right, exactly.
Is dead.
But I think that's what people are assuming is they're like, oh, well, she's out as Wonder Woman, and that's not true.
I was getting to that point.
Yeah.
Hold on. So Wonder Woman 3 is dead. Okay. Didn't mean that Gal Gadot is out of a job, but it almost feels like that's more up in the air than it's ever been. And Patty Jenkins is a big reason why Wonder Woman 3 isn't moving forward. Apparently she was very hard to work with. Also she's like got Rogue Squadron that was on the hook too. That's got a lot of drama behind it. So she's getting a bad rap here, Morg.
Yes.
Without Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot, why even continue this universe, right?
Agree. I'll say too, just a quick little fun side note. When I saw DC Studios drama there, I thought to myself, oh God, what state is Ezra Miller beating up now? I was like, what more problems is that man causing? But no, I think they have to go. Honestly, the only one I can see them keeping, and they could get rid of the rest, is if they keep Henry Cavill. How do we say it? Henry C. Because I think people would be fine with that. Like, yes, we like Gal as Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed Ben Affleck as Batman. But I think in most people's minds, they could kind of disappear and have somebody else. I mean, we already just watched another Batman movie and we're fine with it. We didn't care. So if they replace her, I don't think we would care that much. I just think there's enough fan support behind Henry that I think it would do more harm not to cast him. And when I see this news about that, I think it's good news. I think they're showing like, look, we're turning things down. We're going to have something good. I don't think it means that Henry's gone or really any of them could be gone, but I think it just shows like, no, we're waiting for the right thing. Don't you worry. Wonder Woman 3 does not surprise me though. The second one was just god awful. And then the issues with Patty and like you said, with Rogue Squadron so that doesn't surprise me too much.
I think,
but I can see them getting rid of them.
She's too attractive. She's too charming.
She hasn't done well in her other movies, though.
She hasn't.
She was good in the Nile, Death on the Nile. I thought she was really good in that. And
that movie bombed like crazy, though.
Yeah, but I just don't think people. Yeah, I don't know. I actually liked the movie. I thought it was a good movie. But I like.
So you're the one.
I like murder. I like murder mystery stuff like that. So I think it's good.
I mean.
But I think they should just start all over. That's probably the best thing is to start fresh.
For sure.
It's kind of the old Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan debate. And not that it's totally apples to apples or applicable, but when you think about, there was a debate back in the day like, oh, Phil Jackson doesn't need Michael Jordan to win these championships, or Michael Jordan doesn't need Phil Jackson to win these championships. Well, it turns out actually Michael did need Phil Jackson to win some championships, but James Gunn being Phil Jackson, Henry Cavill being Michael Jordan, there's always a debate of if the coach is great or it's the Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, which is
I don't know if we're going to go down the road of the Phil Jackson stuff. He also had Kobe Bryant and
and Jack.
Shaquille O'Neal. So I don't think
Notice
it's
I
the
didn't bring
triangle.
that up.
The triangle, I don't know if necessarily is what won that one for you, but when you
Yeah.
spent the majority of your career coaching Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal,
So
you're like, I'm a
D-Baz.
genius, you know. I mean, same like you're saying
You
with
would
the
name
they have
Belichick
been
stuff.
But would they
Belichick
have
and
been
Tom
as good
Brady,
as they
it's like,
were if it wasn't for him?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Does the triangle exist without him?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm on Phil Jackson's side on that debate. I think Michael Jordan's the greatest athlete of all time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's that kind of debate. It's like, is it the brain or is it the talent that you choose?
Well,
I
James
think
was-
in this case, you choose the brain, right?
Yeah, James Gunn was pretty clear that, you know, in his reply to one of the folks, it was that, you know, they said, are we going to see more Superman? Which I thought was kind of a naive and stupid question. Like, are we? Yeah,
what do you think he's
going
gonna
to take
say
over
no to that?
DC? Are we going to see any Superman stuff? It's like, come on, man. Of course you're going to see Superman stuff. That's the most
That's what he
idiotic
posted
question
on his
ever.
first day on the job was
Yeah.
a Superman comic.
Yeah, and he's like, James Gunn's like, yes, of course. Superman's a huge priority, if not the biggest priority that they have, you know.
And movie number one's going to be about Condiment Man.
Right, yeah, right.
We're getting some obscure characters. That's what we're doing.
You've got four, you know, you've got 3 or 4 big components that you've got to do something with. You got to do something with Superman. You've got to do something with Batman and Wonder Woman. Yeah. You know, those are the 3 pillars of your Justice League, you know, and then you've got your Hawkeye and your
Hawkman.
No, I'm making
Green
a point
Arrow?
here. You've got your Hawkeye and you know in like Aquaman.
I know where you're going with this.
You know, and then you've got your Black Widow in I don't, you know, like somebody like the Green Lantern, I guess, or whatever, and you could plug somebody in there. But I'm just saying that you have like your core 3. And then you've got your second tier of guys, and then your third tier is like Hawkman or whatever, you know. So there's plenty of bench depth. DC has plenty of bench depth, you know, but you've got your 3 main starters, and you have to get those 3 main starters right. And
and they're Trinity.
I think I don't think anybody out there that's like seriously a fan of Superman doesn't look at Henry Cavill and be like, that dude's a starter, man. Like that, he's your starter, he's your guy. Keep him, if you want to build your whole universe around that dude, cool. Like I'm good with that, you know, like I really, really am.
Nobody's against that.
I don't think so.
And he's
but you have to think about this in other respect as well. They're putting together a 10-year plan. So, which means it's probably going to turn into a 15-year plan before you're actually done with all that stuff and it's out there. So how old is Henry Cavill in 10 to 15 years? So
I think it's going to be 50.
Right.
He can still do it.
So he could still do it. I'm not saying that he can't do it. But if you pick a kid who's 24 or 25 and you plug him into that role, you can get 20 years out of that guy, 15, 20 years out of that guy. And that's a lot of movies that you can.
Think about Tom Holland and Spider-Man. I mean, he's had 5, 6 appearances already as Spider-Man.
Unbelievable.
Well, and he's like 45,
and people
are
yearning
like he's 12.
People are yearning for more. So let me ask this question. Okay, so you keep the brain, and the brain, one of his first moves is to say no more Aquaman after Aquaman 2 in the Lost Kingdom or something like that.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm very excited for it. So then no more Jason Momoa, Arthur Curry. And that's a pretty big character. I mean, I think it's going to be a good to recast because I never saw Jason Momoa as Aquaman. He was always looked at as Lobo, and now they're thinking about recasting him as Lobo. Is that the right move? Taking him, out of this big franchise and putting him in this franchise, which is not very well known. It's not. He's not a great character, Lobo. So it makes me wonder, is that the right move? Can I at least already question a move from James Gunn? I mean, if he gets rid of Cavill, I'm going to definitely question that. But I get it. That's
my thought is my thought is if they they're gonna clean slate everything, or they'll keep pieces. Like that's how, like that's my. So
But if you keep pieces,
I can't see them
and you put them in
recasting him.
as another piece,
But
like
yeah,
I get
that's what I'm
keeping
saying
pieces.
is I can't see you either clean slate the whole thing like
Yeah.
that, or you keep pieces, but you keep the pieces in
And
the
place.
places that they are.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
just where you would go. I cannot, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Peter and James have a plan that makes this make sense. You know, and put him into that. He's a big name. He puts butts in seats, so you know it'd be a shame to let him go. But I don't think
just
anybody's
never
coming
get
up
the
with
appeal of
anything
that guy.
super creative or super cool to make Aquaman work. You know, like where people are going to go, God, I can't wait to. I mean, I still go back to like the Robot Chicken stuff where they just you know Aquaman stuff was just it was hilarious.
Oh,
They
dude,
just,
it's even
Everybody
in
rags on Aquaman.
even in Ari
Teen
Gold's
Titans go to the
show.
movies.
Sorry, why can't I?
Entourage?
Entourage. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
I mean, it's a big joke in there, even though it's not a joke, but it is kind of you get it as a joke.
yeah.
I'm supportive
The
of
James
move.
Cameron. That was James Cameron
Yeah.
Mhm.
making
I think
the
I think it's a good
Aquaman
move.
movie.
And
I think it's a good move.
Your guys are talk earlier that you know the news that's come up about Patty Jenkins being difficult to work with. It's like, all right, well, you know, and I'm not comparing the two because of the box office stuff, because clearly
Sure,
James
sure.
Cameron has made you know a lot of
More
really
than
make
everybody.
stuff, but he's a really
Now he's
difficult
saying a lot
guy
of stupid things.
he's a really difficult guy to work for, you know, and he's a really difficult guy to make movies with. And maybe Patty's just the same way in that she has a creative vision that she wants to put out there, and if people stand in her way from doing it, it makes her seem more confrontational. And I mean, every property that you've talked about that she's had difficulty around is probably a studio shit show, is really what it comes down to. Like this Rogue Squadron that they wanted to make, this X-Wing, I guarantee you Kathleen Kennedy is in there meddling and doing all the stuff that Kathleen Kennedy does that makes it difficult for Patty to make the movie that she wants to make, you know.
She was originally supposed to direct Thor: The Dark World, and then got out of there early on in the process, and they replaced her with Alan Taylor. But you could clearly see that movie failed because she bailed on the project right before shooting, I think. So
probably because she had a vision.
And
I would imagine she has a creative vision and she wants creative liberty to do the things that she wants to do. And I think you saw it in the first Wonder Woman movie. I think they gave her the reins and they really just said, hey, go make your movie. And she did. And it was great. And I think everybody liked it. But then you looked at Wonder Woman 84 and you could see fingerprints of the studio all over that thing. It was a mess.
Yeah.
Just an absolute mess.
Or was it the opposite?
Yeah, well, that's
the studio heavily involved in the first one, and then they're like, hey, you know what, you did good. Here's creative freedom, and they went, holy
they
crap,
don't normally work that way.
I mean, you never know. If you win over, you know, the studio directing him the way you want the first one, usually the second one they give you a little bit more freedom. So I just
who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm giving her more. I'm giving her more credit than she deserves, but
I don't think we're taking credit away or giving her credit.
Yeah,
you know, we're speculating on, again, like you said, Eric. We don't really know.
Who knows?
But there's a lot of insider information coming out on this stuff. That's just it's like with this much stuff that's already leaking. Is that also not a good sign? Because it means people aren't happy with what's going on inside the office or something.
Just a
thought. To tie off the DC stuff, like you said, Eric, the Matt Reeves Batman universe, that one is safe. And all of its spinoff shows. So they are going to still expand that. Don't know if they'll ever bring it into another universe, but that's safe. But they were planning a Michael Keaton Batman movie. This is before James Gunn took over. That was to adapt the Batman Beyond storyline, which I'm not too familiar with. In fact, really my best exposure to Batman Beyond was in Injustice 2. as a playable character.
Yeah.
But I do know it's old Bruce training, a new Batman. And so it was all supposed to bring back Michelle Pfeiffer, Selena Kyle, and Catwoman. I'll start with you on this one, Morg. What did you think about a Batman Beyond movie?
I'm fine. I'm happy this isn't happening.
Okay.
Just because if it was, that meant it was under the old leadership, and we know how it would turn out.
That's a little hindsight, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a little hindsight. Well, no, because we all knew all their stuff was crap anyway.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
We have good.
I was
foresight.
shocked when the Batman was as good as it was. Like,
that's a good, very good point.
So we would know it'd be bad. No, and I'm fine with that because it's just too much. Like, it's too much. It's not complicated enough for people when we start getting to multiple universes, things like that.
Yeah.
But to have literally just at that point possibly 3 different Batman at the same time doing stuff, and it's not a multiple universe, it's just that's just even worse to me.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense. I would hate that. So I'm kind of happy it's not happening. I don't need it. And
like, we just got the general audience to understand multiverse.
Right. And to do this. And it doesn't surprise me, the Reeves stuff. I think we'll get a trilogy out of that and some spin-off shows, and that's where it'll end, because that's what's going to keep the cash flowing while they're rebuilding.
Bankrolling.
Yeah.
Bankrolling DC.
That's the bankroll while they rebuild.
Got it. Okay. What about you, Eric? Would you have been excited to know about a Michael Keaton standalone Batman movie adapting Batman Beyond and bringing back Michelle Pfeiffer?
I think it would be cool to see Keaton in the suit again. I think we were gonna see him in the suit again, but I think it would have been cool to see him as an older Batman doing something. But honestly, I'm really optimistic. And I know that sounds weird because of how bad things have been at DC, but I'm really just optimistic about James and Peter being in charge and where they're going to go from here. And I'm usually the pessimistic guy that's about this, but I really, really am optimistic about what they have coming. So I'm not sad that they're sacrificing this, whatever this was going to be, on the trash heap, because it really wasn't really going to be anything. And you're right, Morgan. We'd have 2 Batmans then, or 3 Batmans. Well, 2 Batmans and a Batgirl is what you would have. So
really.
So because basically, I think the
got
story,
to be another one out there too.
The story behind it was going to be that he's training. So I think what the thing was going to be was that, so you've got Robert Pattinson's Batman, then you have Michael Keaton training a new Batman, so he's Batman, but that Batman's actually going to be a girl, so it's going to be Batgirl. So it would be Michael Keaton training Batgirl, so you'd have 2 Batmans and a Batgirl. And I'm like,
because you'd have a Batman training a Batgirl,
right,
and Batgirl, a Batman training a Batman, and Batman.
We have a really good drinking game.
Matt Reeves going.
Yeah. It's just
and then you have Batman in Flashpoint.
You hear Bat? Take a drink.
Yeah, right. It just seemed dumb, So I'm again not sad that we're sacrificing this to move things forward. I think so.
Yeah.
What the cherry on top here is, Aquaman 2 was recently screened, and if you remember, back in September, maybe October. I know James Gunn was announced in October. So it was before then when Ben Affleck signed a deal, and Jason Momoa made a post about him coming back as Bruce Wayne and Batman, and going to be that he was going to be in Aquaman 2, and then they were going to put him in the Flash movie as well. So that would be the 3rd Batman?
Something like that.
I'd say it's somewhere under 20.
Yeah, because you got Ben, you got Michael Keaton, you got Robert Pattinson, and
then in Flashpoint, would they have had all the Batmans at one point in that?
Oh yeah, they also So
if it's Flashpoint, would we get Batman's dad as Batman, because that's what happens in Flashpoint? So there'd be another Batman.
I don't know, but the what came out recently is Aquaman 2 was screened and there was no sign of Ben Affleck's Batman. So it's like, what? They are really
They
just
cut the Batman out of everything.
they are. So it's also another sports analogy of like a team just getting rid of all their superstars and for getting ready for the rebuild.
Mhm.
Let's move on to a different franchise, one that's making a comeback here. It's Avatar time on the Nerd Rundown. Yes, Meg, we did talk about Avatar: The Way of Water last week,
Yep.
and maybe the 3 previous ones, because we're coming up on Avatar 2: The Way of Water.
Yep.
It was had its premiere in the last week, and so social media reactions, first reviews came through at a very positive rate, very positive. In fact, I'll check why I'm listening to you guys talk what the actual what it is on the tomato meter right now and what the audience score is, but very, very positive reactions. I'm going to cover this as kind of a group here. Beyond this movie, reports this past week came out about Avatar 4, that James Cameron handed the script in for Avatar 4, and the studio execs were quoted as saying, "Holy shit." May have been another word, but supposed to be very good. And then it was leaked this week as well by actually Martin Landau, one of the producers, that Avatar 5 is supposed to be Earthbound. So a lot of things going on in the Avatar world, a lot of excitement. James Cameron thinks his Na'vi special effects is better than the Thanos special effects, which from Infinity War is considered to be the top-notch CGI right now. Whew. Avatar making a comeback. Eric, what do you think?
I am super excited. The kids have this week of school and then next week off. And it comes out on Friday. I tried to look at tickets for all of us, at some point during the week, and during the weekend, and I just couldn't find any tickets with all of us together to see it. So I'm hoping that next
that popular, huh? Already?
It's pretty popular. And I think I talked about it last week. They talked about James Cameron saying, when is a good time to go see the bathroom? And he's like, you can go whenever you want to, because you're going to see it more than once, And I was like, God bless you. That's awesome. So
I know not to go pee now.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. The trailer looks really, really good, and I just hope it's a better story than the first one, because the first story was not a great story. So, but I've heard that the reviews that I've seen, or the comments that people have made about it, said that the CGI is gorgeous until you go underwater, and then when you go underwater, it's mind blowing, like how cool everything is underwater. So,
oh, cool. I like that.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's pretty spectacular.
Pretty specific.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
so we'll
Okay.
see. I don't know. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to take the family to see it. So nothing on my end has changed. How about you, Morg? What do you think?
What I think. So, the thing that annoys me about this movie is I'm going to go see it. I already talked to a buddy. He asked me if I want to go, and I said, you know what, I'll go. Like, I don't have an interest to see it, but I'm going to go see it anyway. And that's what bugs me about this. I know this movie's going to do pretty well, but I think a lot of people are just going to be like, I'll go see it. I'll just to check it out. Like, I'm not really that interested, but I just kind of want to check it out. I know it's a movie you should kind of see on the big screen because of the visuals. And that's it. Like, I know it needs to make like $2 billion or something, right? I know it's got to make a crap ton of money. But when you watch the first one again, and you realize, you know what? It really isn't that great of a movie. It's a pretty standard movie. It's just all CG and was cool.
Right.
Like, when you watch this, is it really going to be mind blowing, or are we going to go, wow, the water visuals were cool, and then 5 years from that, we're going to go, oh, you know what? It wasn't really that great of a story, but I remember the water visuals being cool. I guess I'll go see the third one. Let's see what they're, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure,
is that
sure.
what we're getting with this? Just a franchise where you literally go to see it just because you're like, I remember there was something cool about it, so he'll probably do something neat with this. Let's just go see. Either way, what's the worst that happens? We just had a fun Friday night out watching a movie. Who cares?
Sounds awesome.
Well, I think
I don't know. Like it just,
the first.
I don't know. I just think it's weird. And it's not like one of them going to be like 5 hours long or something. They're
It's
saying
3 hours.
they're trying to like.
It's 3
Yeah,
hours.
it's just 3 hours.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
You know, kind of going back, my dad and I were talking about this yesterday a little bit, because we were talking about how many times I saw Titanic in the theater, you know, and I was like, I think I saw Titanic twice in the theater, and you know, it was spectacular. I mean, it was such a great story, and the special effects and everything was just terrific, you know. And then I yelled out of the living room, "Stacy, how many times did you see Titanic in the theater?" She goes, 8. She's like, I saw it 8 times in the theater, and I was like, everybody that I knew saw Titanic at least twice, if not more, because they loved it that much, and it was sold out for months. And
it was the first $1 billion movie.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
It was crazy. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And then when Avatar came out, it wasn't the story, it was the special effects, I think, that people just went for, because they had never seen anything like it. There was, and you have to tip your cap to James Cameron. Like, he did put your butt in that seat multiple times, because everybody I knew who saw Avatar saw it multiple times. They saw it 2 or 3 times because they saw, I mean, it just was crazy. It was crazy. It was just something the 3D technology, because prior to that, the 3D technology, like, there weren't any 3D movies really.
Oh, not like that.
And
so it was like the blue and red.
You had like the blue and red glasses, like the kid from Lethal Weapon had. You know,
somebody was going to throw a piece of popcorn at you. And
I mean, I bought it. It
was like Na'vi running up the stairs. You know?
Exactly. I mean, there was a whole TV industry that got generated, and people spent $200 or $300 extra on a TV just because it had 3D technology in it. And you know, studios didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to follow it up, and I don't think Jim was fully happy with how it turned out, because he waited a really long time for things to catch up to his vision, and I think now he feels like it's where it needs to be to take it to the next level. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see his vision play out. That's really all I'm really kind of looking forward to. So, but I'm hoping that it's a great story. That's really what I'm hoping for this time, because the eye candy stuff is going to be there. And I know I'm a little harsh on this because of the CGI. I am a practical effects guy. Make no mistake. Like, I know that this is all motion capture stuff that they're doing, and that those are actually actors in those things and stuff like that. But this is a cartoon. It's an animated movie, and the animation is trying to be as realistic as it possibly can be. But it's an animated movie, and that's all there is to it. So it's like, how good is the animation going to be? Is it going to make you feel like you're really on Pandora? You know, are you really there? So, and
that's the thing that concerns me about too. Like, again, with the special effects of the first one, we're used to it now. Like, like we're shocked now. We're like, oh wow, no special effects, just normal, no CGI. That's cool. You know what I mean?
Like Top Gun Maverick, there was like barely.
Oh yeah, like
it was like, I love there was no CGI.
I'll be bringing Top Gun Maverick up again.
You will be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you don't, I will. So
yeah.
Yep.
You're talking about the IMAX re-release?
No, I'm talking about an election fraud. There was a rigged election. I'm just telling you. If you want to call me, if you want to call me an election denier, it's fine. I'll proudly wear that cap
as well.
Let's get to the MCU news portion of our show.
Yeah.
So something that Eric and I talked about last week as well, but a more concrete evidence type story, whatever you want to call it, came out this week that Marvel Studios is really, really thinking hard about their Phase 5 and 6 slate, and do they need to push or even cancel some shows coming up in Phase 5 and Phase 6? because they want to focus more on quality over quantity. And now with Bob Iger back as the CEO of Disney, as he replaces Bob Chapek, who was a big proponent of one Marvel or Star Wars piece of content on Disney Plus at all times. Is Bob Iger going to pull the reins back on that and have us get less content over the next few years or several years, I should say, because we don't really know how long it would be. So we can get more quality over quantity. There's one sign of that already where they're keeping Daredevil Born Again TV mature, which is really surprising and awesome to hear.
Yes.
I'll start with you there, Morg. I'll leave that third piece there for and a little bit down the road. So go ahead. What do you think about this story?
Good. I want quality over quantity. I don't want you to just keep pumping out stuff just for the fact that you're pumping out stuff to try and keep people subscribed to, to your service. They will stay subscribed if you have quality product because they know the next thing they watch is going to be quality. So I'm excited about this, especially the Daredevil news. I was very, very nervous that they wouldn't do a mature on that one. But if they are and it's a true mature, I'm happy. I'm happy. It's going to be good. That gives me much hope. But yes, quality over quantity any day. I agree.
Morgan's like, I need blood. Okay.
Yes.
I want blood.
I need Kingpin smashing a head in with a car door, not getting beat up by a 12-year-old.
Oh yeah. Eric, this tags onto what we talked about last week, but have some evidence behind it now. Thoughts?
Yeah, and I feel the same way as Mork. I think all three of us feel the same way. I'd much rather see quality products getting pumped out than a quantity of products that are crappy. I think we all talked about we all are big fans of or I should say big fans, but we all appreciate what the Critical Drinker, YouTuber that we watch, has to say about some stuff, and he really laid into Marvel's Phase 4 stuff, and
yeah, he did,
and all of his, for the most part, almost all of his points were exactly what we've kind of said, the same thing, which is you can't just replace people on a whim and expect people to have the same emotional connection to that character just because you said so. You know, just because, oh, well, this is going to be the guy going forward, or this is the gal that's going to be going forward. Like, you need to love her exactly the way you loved the character that she's replacing, and it's just like, well, I have a rich history with Scarlett Johansson, that goes back several movies. And as much as I like, the other girl,
who doesn't?
I don't have that connection with her just yet, and maybe if over time, if she builds that trust and that relationship with me, then yeah, I'm going to root for her and I'm going to want her.
And just having an established character go, ooh, I like this person.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm gonna like them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, well, we're all doing it. There were some neat characters that we got introduced to that I would like to see more of, for sure. We've talked about Echo. Like, I think that is a brilliant character that you could take and do some amazing stuff with. And I think
that show might be on the bubble.
And I hope that that's not the case. Like, I hope that it, that is a show that they actually do pursue, because I think that was a character that we all were like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Out of that,
I'd like to see more.
But see, that's the thing. I could see them canceling it though, just because it's a character where they're like,
I think at this point, but I don't think it's
knows.
because of her. I don't think it's anything to do with that. I think it's because of all the other junk that they popped out. Now they're just going to be like, we're just wiping the whole slate clean. But
well, they've had recent success with the feature presentations. Werewolf by Night, which I wasn't a fan of. I didn't watch. I wasn't a fan of the trailer, so I didn't watch it, and I don't know if I will ever. But I did watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and that was freaking fun. So
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
That
was great.
But that's an established
James Gunn too, But
it's an established property.
It's
established. But Werewolf by Night was a huge success for them, and not anybody knew who that was.
Yeah.
So they might start focusing more on, okay, maybe not like 6-episode TV series. Maybe we do this hour-long feature presentation, introduce this character.
Yeah.
And we can we don't have to spend as much money. It's not as big of a risk.
And that's kind of perfect, especially for me as a parent. Like something an hour long like that, where I can go like when I realize like, all right, time to wind down, but I can't put on a full movie because you got to get to bed.
Yeah.
Oh, I put on this hour long feature. Like that's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's just coming as a dad. Like that's just a perfect time.
It was like right at the end of the holiday special where Joey started losing interest. I'm like, this is a perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect time.
Perfect time. Yeah.
Well, I think that they just real quick, the Moon Knight character I thought was great. I loved that series. I thought it was really good. I realized that it's not the hour-long deal, but it wasn't a 10-episode arc either. It was, I think, 6 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
So 6 episodes. Yeah. And really, you could have truncated. We discussed it. You could have probably truncated it down to 4 episodes, and that would be great. So you
nothing wrong with that.
You take 4 hours to tell a really good story, and I think people will tune in for 4 weeks. And guess what? You put 2 weeks at the middle of the month. You premiered on the 15th, and it goes 4 weeks, and now you've got subscriptions for that month and the next month, and so you're keeping people
it's like
subscribed.
A monthly comic book. Like I keep saying, it's like a monthly comic book.
Yeah. And if they go with quality over quantity, it gives me time to watch, these shows we talk about, like all the upcoming Walking Dead stuff. Oh.
I want to give a shout out to Captain Dunsel. I want to give a shout out to Captain Dunsel because we did talk about quality over quantity last week as well. He gave us a great comment last week. I'm reading it right now. Quality over quantity, and he leaves some of the best comments, and you can really tell his personality comes through in his comments. Good. Quality over quantity. Finally, maybe Kevin F is reading our comments. I hope so. Let's go to the original Star Trek. These were great stories. Yes, there were a couple bad ones, but all in all, great stories. Same as with Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. These stories are as good today as they were back in the 60s, and that is because they could be critical and not produce shows that were not of high quality. By high quality, great stories. These producers did not have CGI or even true special effects to fall back on. Great comment. Falls right in line kind of with what we're saying. Oh, yeah.
That's back when you had
it's the story that matters.
20-some episodes a season,
Yeah.
You're putting out 22-episode seasons.
Definitely had fillers.
I mean, think of all the indie movies or shows or stuff that it's just a really good story. And at Midnight Mass, I thought was a great story.
It was a great story.
And I loved it. It did well. The practical effects, most of it, because it's not like it was a real special effect, and that was a hit. I would take that any day over some of the stuff we get now.
Yeah.
One of my favorite one season series is a AMC special or something like that. It was called The Night Manager with Tom Hiddleston. Freaking awesome 4-episode mini series, and I wasn't into mini series until I watched that. Now I'm loving them. Anyway, let's talk about just highway robbery. I don't even know if that's the right term.
I'm still sticking with my theory.
People's Choice Awards were in the past week, and they have a Best Movie Award, and it's called the People's Choice Award. And what people chose, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness for the Best Picture. I don't know how to explain that. I'm right there with you. I am an election denier.
I'm an election
Eric, because that's some bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I'm calling bullshit. I don't know what this was. There were 4 other movies on that list that should have come in first place before that one.
Name them.
Nope. The Batman, Top Gun Maverick, and hell, I'd even probably put Jurassic World Dominion up there before, and that movie was terrible. That movie was terrible.
That's a little rough.
I don't know about that one.
I have not watched Bullet Train, but I've heard good stuff. A lot of people have seen that one, I'm just being absurd. But really, Top Gun Maverick, The Batman, and Nope. I would put those 3 movies up way before I would put Doctor Strange.
All once.
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Incredible.
And to have, I mean, no offense on this one, but there is no way that Elizabeth Olsen was best female movie star of 2022
I
for
know.
Doctor Strange. Like, sorry.
Who
not-
tabulated these results?
This is what happened.
Okay, let's hear it.
Whoever runs this
Yeah.
was sitting down drinking coffee and said,
Yeah.
"Oh shit, we need to pick a couple
Yeah.
of awards that we forgot about." They
Yeah.
happened to run into Bill Poor, and they said, "Bill, what's your favorite movie of the year?" And he goes, "Multiverse of Madness." Oh, well, who should win the best actor?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen, Multiverse
Yeah.
of Madness. And they went, "That's good enough."
And they have her as the action movie star of 2022. Action movie star of 2022 is Elizabeth Olsen. I love
did you
Elizabeth
do this?
Olsen.
I love Lizzie.
Didn't you see
I
this?
love her.
Look at this
Don't get
action.
me wrong.
Love
but
her.
but no. Okay, no. And I'm gonna go with nope on that one because
Yeah,
even I just
I'd go
I don't
with
even
Phoenix
know.
over her.
Yeah.
If you're wondering if more and more people are getting dumb in this country, there's your answer.
Zoe Kravitz was better action wise.
Oh, dude,
Tom Cruise was
Zoe
better.
should have
I would
won.
say Tom Cruise is better action wise because he really didn't do a lot of action stuff in that movie, except pull
He does
7.5
run.
G's
He does run.
and
He gave me a lot of action.
almost black out. But hey, if you're
Listen.
doing this stuff and you're cutting Captain Britain in half, I guess, or whatever with her shield,
Yeah,
that's
stupid.
Yeah.
makes you.
I cannot believe that the Batman didn't win because it's the Batman fans that are the most like rabid online fans.
This thing is
and
a
how
shame.
it's a sham. That
Listen.
because that alone. Well, actually, the first thing that tells me that this was a sham, Top Gun Maverick didn't win.
Yeah.
Number two, Batman didn't win.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like there was some sort of write-in. There must have been some sort of like campaign, some sort of like campaign that went on that.
maybe Marvel fans were really pissed at the Oscar moment. Remember that in last year when they had a fan vote for an Oscar and what was it that won over I don't remember, but it was bad. We had two really crazy award show moments in the last week because Jedi Survivor was debuted at the Game Awards. And the ending, did you hear about the ending to the Game Awards?
Win the game of the year, which shout out to Elden Ring. Congratulations. I beat that game like 4 times. Love it.
Nice.
But some random kid walked up on stage with all the
With the
makers of
winners?
the game and then like thanked Bill Clinton or something. I don't know.
His ever rabbi Bill Clinton?
Yeah,
Did you hear about this?
Bill Clinton. It was weird.
Go check out, go Google kid at the end of the Game Awards. It's insane because he walks down the aisle, a different aisle than them, but he's walking down the aisle like he's a part of the group and he just gets on the stage. He's standing behind him. Nobody really does anything. He gets on the mic after and he's like, yeah, this wouldn't be possible. And I'd like to thank my overlord and rabbi Clinton. And then finally, like everybody's like, "What the hell
Who is this kid?"
and I mean, he doesn't. I mean,
he doesn't so nonchalant.
Look like he should be there. He's clearly a child walking up with these people.
Like wild. I like. How did he get in? Like, how did it all? I would love to hear the backstory on that. And then
I'm wondering. Anyway. My other theory on this is that maybe they had the voting in like April before all the other movies actually came out, and so then they never opened up voting after that. So all people could vote for was
maybe that's what it was.
Doctor Strange.
They didn't want to wait.
They're like, I don't know. But I mean, they did get some stuff right.
Maybe there was some
Stranger Things did win for show of 2022 and sci-fi fantasy show of 2022 because I did just finish Stranger Things season 4 the other night and
part 2.
I finished the whole thing. Yeah, I finished the whole thing, and
it got good. That was a
really good.
I loved it all the way to the finale, and then the very end of the finale, I was a little. I don't know.
Really? Like the cliffhanger part?
Yeah, I just was like,
I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured they'd have to end it on something like that.
Freaking got me jacked for season 5.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see this.
But anyhow, but
anyhow,
I think Moon Knight could have been on that list. The rest of that, I think it's really funny that the Rings of Power didn't. Like, apparently, $1 billion doesn't buy you.
That doesn't surprise me.
People's Choice Awards.
Was House of Dragon on it?
House of the Dragon was on there, but didn't win. So the House of the Dragon, La Brea.
I was just wondering if, like, what was the submission deadline? Because maybe it was too late. But
no, it was nominated. It was nominated. So you have
what about Andor?
House of the Dragon. No, Andor didn't even make it. La Brea, Moon Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, She-Hulk, Stranger Things, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and the Umbrella Academy were your nominations.
Oh my gosh.
House of the Dragon sounds like the only thing that should have won.
Yeah, Stranger Things and Moon Knight I thought were pretty great. House of the Dragon I thought was pretty great.
I feel like out of all those though, like House of the Dragon is like the strongest writing.
Better than Stranger Things, you think?
Well,
because
Stranger Things should have won.
I look at the Stranger Things and I think to myself, okay, that was 6. Was it?
That was
7
I don't like
episodes?
using this word, but it was epic.
Yeah, was it like 7? How many episodes was it? Like 8?
It was a total of 7 or 8, but it was,
but
some of them were like 2 hours episodes.
Movies, like they were 90-minute shows, like, and then at the end it was 2 hours.
But the real problem is when they vote for that, but they also vote for Multiverse of Madness, I start to question myself.
Right.
Am I right that it's good? Now I'm confused.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's some shenanigans. I call shenanigans on the and the male movie star of 2022 was Chris Hemsworth for Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, nope.
No more shenanigans. We cannot say shenanigans. I don't want to hear the word shenanigans again.
Shenanigans.
Oh, hey, Barbara, what's that restaurant?
What's that place you like to go to? Stuff on the walls.
Shenanigans? Well, speaking of Stranger Things, moving on in the rundown to the last category, the miscellaneous section. Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel got a new director in Gil Keenan. He's going to take over for Jason Reitman, who is Ivan Reitman, the original director of Ghostbusters 1 and 2's son. Did a fantastic job on Afterlife. I had so much fun watching that movie.
Yep.
Even as good as it was, I'm nervous about a sequel.
Yep.
But I actually feel like it's a good sign that it's not Jason Reitman. And the analogy that I keep coming back to is like, certain companies get to a certain size and they have to get a new CEO. Because CEOs are like, okay, you're a good CEO for a 500-person company, but we want to grow to 2,000. We need a certain kind of CEO. And I think that this is my analogy for this, where, okay, we had a really great sequel in Afterlife, great nostalgia, great storytelling, great characters, Paul freaking Rudd, the man. But we're going to need to, we're going to need to step it up, I guess, for the sequel. And if that's the case, then we need somebody who can step it up from Jason Reitman. So, I don't know. Eric, Gil Keenan, right move?
I don't think this bothers me too much because it's not like Reitman is stepping away from the project at all. I mean, he's moving into a producer and writer role. It's still writing and stuff like that on it. So
that makes me think of that Biff song that you sent us, that where he's like, what does the producer do? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think this doesn't bother me too. This doesn't bother me too much either. I think I'm excited for. I think for the most part everybody's coming back. It seems like Finn Wolfhard should be back. McKenna Grace will be back. We'll see if Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon, I think, make it back for theirs. I'd like to see some of the OG stuff as well, but I would like to. I would kind of prefer to keep them in the back, as like advisors or, that type of thing. I think having them in the project, especially Ernie Hudson, I think is going to be great because it seems like he's kind of running the show, if you will, in the background, which I think will be great. But then I don't know if you'll get Bill Murray back out there again, but who knows? But Dan Aykroyd for sure. I love Ray. He's so
He's
good.
one of the best.
So I think if you keep him around, especially to bounce ideas off of with maybe McKenna Grace's Phoebe character, like I could see them being like a great pair. You pair Dan Aykroyd with her a little bit, and I think they'd have a fun time with each other. So there's lots of stuff you could go with. I adored this movie, the Afterlife one. I thought it was really, really great.
Yeah.
I thought, I think we've kind of set it in stone as if this is how you're going to do a remake, this is, or a reboot, a requel.
Requel.
This is the mold to copy, if you're going to do it. What do you think, Morg?
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't bother me. I hope that, like you said, right, as long as Reitman's staying on in some sort of consultant, he's the CEO, he's helping the new CEO, so he's staying on, helping, guide. That's great. I mean, he's done some things I'm good with. I mean, he wrote Afterlife, A Boy Called Christmas. He did the screenplay, directed it. I know some people here like that movie.
Me, I freaking love that movie, dude.
He directed Monster House, A Poltergeist, Scream. So like, he's definitely got like the scary side of it, and he's written some good stuff and wrote the Afterlife, and we all like that. So I think this will be okay. I agree. I think this is just the fine next step, and I think he'll take it to the next level, and I think it'll be good.
Yeah, for sure. He's still a small time director, so he'll still have to be a little bit of a yes man for the studio. So there'll be some of that stuff in there, but for the most part, I think it's the right move.
And he also knows if he does a damn good job, it means he's going to have a good career. Start doing even bigger things.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't mess this up. Last on the rundown, small piece here to end, because pretty sure I'm the only one who's seen this fully, and we just talked about this and didn't really expand the conversation.
But put it on to go to sleep.
Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power adds 8 new recurring cast members for their upcoming season 2, which will start shooting here early in 2023. Like I've said, I've really dug into the lore of Lord of the Rings and gotten like such a huge appreciation for that world. And knowing post Rings of Power season 1, knowing all that post that show gave me a different hindsight look at that show, and doesn't help my opinion on the show, which I liked while watching it. But now I can see the world that Tolkien built, and that show didn't really take.
Now you see why a lot of people are upset.
Yeah, now I see why they didn't really take they didn't put any love for Tolkien in that. So it makes me nervous for season 2. I'll probably still watch it, because they do say that they canonized season 2. I don't know. Morgan, do you think you'll ever watch this show? I'll ask that.
No. Like I said, so I got to whatever when we last talked about it. I can't remember how far I got into it.
It hadn't been on in like 3 years. So.
I know. It was just it's just so boring, and I didn't think it was written well. And then I'll admit I started to watch like Critical Drinker and some of them and see their thoughts on it as well. And they watched it longer. They went further than I did, because they're
YouTube creators. They have to content.
They have a lot of followers, and they
have to suffer for their followers.
Yes, but and just hearing the stuff they're saving in later, I just couldn't. I'm like, I don't know if I can bring myself back to it to really finish it. Like, I don't know. I think it's upsetting because it's not even like I hate it. Like it's hard.
You're really struggling here, Morgan. What are you?
I know. I'm trying to struggle with keeping it within the guidelines. It's just
the Nerd Rundown guidelines.
Yeah, the Nerd Rundown guide. No, it's just one of those, like, I have no desire, and it just stinks because we are Lord of the Rings fans. I'm not. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not somebody that's like.
It's written out here on this.
I'm not somebody that's like
the guidelines. You need to follow.
Super intense on the lore, but it's like if it was just a good, like they had so much opportunity to make it possibly the greatest show out there.
I
They
know.
could have
Yeah.
done it, and for some reason they chose not to.
Honestly, like that is maybe the most fire take you've ever said, and that is why make what they make why make what they made for $1 billion when
Right.
they could have spent it.
And then to follow up with, don't worry, season 2 is going to be
Hmm.
canonized. Well, that doesn't make sense, because if you don't canonize the first season, how you just go first
Yeah,
season didn't happen,
especially
we
if
change
some
everything.
of the characters are who we think they are. It's like that's definitely not a canonized story. So I don't know. Eric, you think you'll ever pick this one up?
No.
No.
I think, I've watched a lot of the same folks that Morgan has as well. And, to listen to those guys do, I wouldn't say mea culpas, but at least come back and say, hey, you know what? I thought this property was going to be a train wreck, and I was wrong. And I'm specifically referring to Andor, where a lot of them were like really negative on Andor ahead of time. They were like, this is, they've just ripped Star Wars apart, and then they come back afterwards and they're like, I was wrong. Like, this is terrific. This is the best Star Wars we've ever seen. But for them to not only say what they say about the Tolkien stuff, and is it really even Tolkien, or is it just, hey, we're setting it in Middle Earth and then we're telling our own stories. So it's like, okay, well, who did you write the story for? Because you bought this property, you brought the rights to this property, and were you hoping, I'm not sure what you were trying to do, because if you were hoping to maybe bring in like a whole new audience of people and say, oh, well, there's so many other people out there, and the only reason why they didn't like Lord of the Rings before was because of this. And so if we change this, now all of a sudden those people are going to flock to this property and all of a sudden watch your stuff and be like, this is the greatest thing ever. I can't wait for season 2. It's like, no. The guys who are Lord of the Rings people, the guys and gals who are Lord of the Rings people, they're going to watch this and go, what are you doing? I'm watching this because I want to see what my imagination has had in my head. I want to see somebody bring that to life, and I want to see these characters, developed maybe a little bit more or whatever. Yeah. And I don't know. So
I that point right there. Sorry, more real quick. I love that point because I see this all the time. It's like, well, if you want to see this story, go read the book or go read the comics.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, I want to see that come to life.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm a fan of that because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, like, I don't have to tell you why. I think that's one of the things I struggle with the most is like, if you have to tell me why something is beautiful, it's not.
Yeah, telling isn't selling.
Yeah, I don't have to be told that Lord of the Rings is a classic. Like, it's a classic because it's a classic. Like, it was a classic the day it was printed, and the first person that read it was like, holy smokes, this is amazing. It isn't because of some magic that happened over the years where all of a sudden people grew to like it. It was always a classic, and the more people read it, the more people were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I want to read the second one, and I want to read the third one, and I want to read The Hobbit, and I want, so it's because of the work that Tolkien put into it that made it a classic, and his fans are, they want to see more of that. They want to see.
Well, something that doesn't help with this either is you have House of the Dragon, and you can't help but compare the two because they're setting that kind of like medieval-ish. You know what I mean? You can't compare.
Right. The fantasy.
And then when you let me watch Rings of the Power, and and somebody goes, you know why a rock floats and a ship sinks? Because a rock looks down and a ship looks up. And you're like, what? What are you trying? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then you watch House of the Dragon, where there's, you could tell there was a lot of care. Well, and they knew, like, when they made that, like, oh, we got to like really redeem Game of Thrones here. And you felt that when you watch that, and then you go to Rings of Power, and you're like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
Great points. I would love to talk more Lord of the Rings. We're going to really bang our box.
Yeah, that's a good question.
To tie that a nice, pretty little bow on that, the Lord of the Rings story, the Fellowship of the Ring, or the story of the Fellowship, and the walk to Mount Doom, basically. It's basically the greatest story ever told. And you sit down and you watch all 3 movies, all 9 hours, you get done with it, you're like, that is one of the greatest stories. And you dig into the lore of Lord of the Rings, that story is like minuscule in the lore of Lord of the Rings. There is way crazier, more epic. Again, don't like that word, but applicable. Epic storytelling in the lore of Lord of the Rings. And you spent $1 billion to make this. What the?
I will say my wife does have a hard time with the end of Lord of the Rings, and when they're all like, Gandalf, and he's laying in bed and they're all jumping and like tickling him. And
hey, if you just went through that, you would be
that's what I said. I'm like, you just don't get it.
Everybody else too. Yeah. All right, let's get to the nerd box. Meg came through again with this question. She writes in, this is timely for Christmas. Glad you had to state that. What toys are you getting for your kids that you're excited to play with yourself? My daughter is getting some Barbie stuff. Townhouse and camper. Hopefully Link isn't listening to the nerd.
Yeah,
rundown.
not listening.
It's just, they put it on the teleprompter. I have to read it. And I'm thrilled because Barbie was a huge part of my childhood. That sounded awkward coming in the middle of the break. Let me back that up. She says her answer is my daughter's getting some Barbie stuff. And I am thrilled because Barbie was a huge part of my childhood. BP, her son, is getting some Play-Doh kits and she can't wait to play with that. So she wants to know, without fully revealing, maybe, spoiler alert, put that out there as well. Gifts for the holiday for your kids. Are you excited about anything that you're getting them?
Yeah, I would say you might want to tune this off if your kids are listening too. They're about to have Christmas ruined. I will say this. So I read the question and I thought, and then I looked right at my wife and I said, what did we get him for Christmas? She buys gifts like all year long because she's smart and plans ahead. And whereas me, I'd be like, oh, crap,
a good hider, apparently.
What are we getting? But no, he's getting this, I guess you call it like a 3D art pen, but it's a pen that will 3D print plastic. So you can, with the pen, like sculpt and like you could draw like a 3D house with the pen. So it like prints it right there. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, no, but make sense? Also yes. Yeah. What kind of wizardry are you into?
I don't know, but I'm so
that sounds
excited
amazing.
For what I'm going to be able to do with this thing. So that I'm looking for.
I saw somebody on Twitter
I would
commented.
Make myself a gun immediately.
Oh yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to draw some inappropriate stuff at some point because that's just going to be hilarious. Okay.
The 3D printer stuff. It was funny. I saw somebody commented about that the other day. They're like, buy yourself a 3D printer for Christmas. Print a 3D printer with your 3D printer and then return the one that you bought.
Yes.
I was like, ooh, that's kind of brilliant, man. That's
mind blown on that one. That's well, that I would be like, when did you buy that? Because I could have been playing with that this whole time. That sounds awesome. Eric, what do you got anything you're excited for?
Not, I wouldn't say so much this year.
Transformer
the
that
kids
you're
are
probably
going to
transform 100,000 times.
I think the thing that I'm probably the most excited about is the kids are getting some Lego stuff, and so some of the kits that they're getting, I think I'm a little envious of, and even some of them were purchasing, or we purchased the lighting kits for them, which I think is kind of exciting. So. And we're starting to build we got it last year for my brother. Lego is doing like a Christmas village type thing. So last year we had this elf house that we built. And so this year they have a new one, and I'm like, I think it would be really neat because I've always wanted to have like a village, like you always have those ceramic villages and stuff that people put together. But I actually think, and my brother mentioned something about it, and I really like the idea. You build it and then at the end of the season, you tear it down and put it away, and then next year you build it again. As a family, you build the village together. So your first time you have one thing to build, and the next year you have two things to build, and so on and so forth. And so each year you add a new one to the collection, and you tear them down and rebuild them every year, and all that. So I thought that was kind of cool. So, but yeah, I think the lighting
ceramic villages.
What's that?
My Nona and Papa love those ceramic villages.
Yeah, those are pretty
ones.
cool. Yeah, always like those.
They get nuts. People on trains and
there have been in the past.
I love fake cities.
The kids get, and I'm like way more excited for it. Like Star Wars stuff and other things. I've been like, oh, I can't wait. Can we open that?
My son wants to use his birthday money to buy an Oculus, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, my kid wants
to play with it.
My kid wants.
That's something we don't have to go to Santa for. So
Jackson keeps asking for a 3D.
I destroyed his world.
Or a VR headset. He's like, Dad, I want a VR headset. I want a VR headset, and I'm like, your eyes aren't ready for it yet. But in back in my head, I'm like, I really want a VR headset.
I know that's all.
I know. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, Dan, he should save it. I'm like, well, hold on, let's talk here.
I will start playing flight sims again, and you'll probably never see me for like weeks. Where have you been? Well, I just flew to Sydney. I just flew to Sydney and from Seattle, and it's an 18-hour flight. I'm sorry.
It's spin-off of the show. It's just recording Eric Flight Simulator.
You can speed up the time on those. Yeah, but where's the fun in that? I flew 18 hours down to Sydney, and
ask Gary Sinise. He was a perfectionist in Apollo 13. He's like, I'm not feeling it, so I had to go back in. I have a bit of a different experience than this from just about every other host on this panel, who is here and who is not here, because you guys have sons. Jason has sons. Bill. I was going to call him William. Billy has a son.
Max, buddy.
Meg has a daughter. I have two daughters. I don't have a son, so it's not like I'm like, oh man, I'm really excited about that skirt or this dress or whatever we're buying our daughters. But I do let them kind of like give me ideas for me for gifts in a way where it's like I really, 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 really want an electric scooter. So, but man, they're like $600-700. Oh, yeah. They are so expensive. Yeah. But man, it'd be cool if I got one. Hopefully the banana Santa
wink, wink.
Comes through on that one. But
I know I'm struggling with something to get. Like I know my wife has asked for this thing, but I always worry that if I buy stuff that I'm going to take advantage of, that she's going to think that I only bought it for me, and I'm like,
that's the best.
So I've been thinking about buying this one thing, and it's pretty expensive, and I'm like, but I know that it's something that we'll use like every day, and she'll love it, and
what is it?
And then I'll also get some stuff. I'll text you what it is. I can't tell anybody.
That's what I do. I'm always like, oh honey, here's that new video game you wanted. What? I'm like, didn't you want that? No, I'll play it. Nah. I could have sworn
I thought you said you wanted that.
Are you sure?
It's on your list. I have it right here.
And we opened the plastic too, so now we can't take it back.
Yeah.
Take it.
Is that a scratch?
It's terrible.
Just gonna have to play that. That's a fun question. Captain Dunzel's gonna have an answer for that one. In fact, I feel like he talked about how he's
13 grandkids. So
yeah, he has. I feel like I remember him talking about he had a lot of grandkids and he likes to play with their toys, something like that.
Yeah.
He had a question. He'll comment. And you comment. Take a moment out of your day.
It can give us good toys ideas for us. So
yeah. It's fun interacting with y'all. So that's the best part. But yeah, we need some gift ideas as well. So
I had a discussion with a guy the other night. We were at a party Saturday night, and I had a discussion with this guy about model airplanes, and because he's in the process of building a model airplane, and I was like, man, I haven't built a model airplane since I was like 14 or 15 years old.
I did something like that.
And I used to love to build those things, but I would build them so fast. Like I would get them and I would glue them together. And I mean, there was zero patience for those things. I didn't care. I just wanted to put them together. And I think to myself, all right, well, now that I'm getting close to 50, like it would be kind of cool to get back into those, and do them like slowly and put together, them. And he was telling me he bought an airbrush. He said he bought this airbrush thing, and he's like, dude, painting with the airbrush is amazing. Like you'll never go back to like the regular brush again.
I saw it in Toy Story too.
Yeah, right. And I was like, all right, so, yeah, it looked pretty good in Toy Story 2.
I did. I was like, oh man, that looks really satisfying.
Yeah.
Model planes or models, fake cities. I've always been into that. I always loved it when like there's like a big fake town in like a basement,
Yeah.
Like just to give you an example, one of my favorite scenes is the reveal of the basement in the Lego movie.
Yes.
Just love that fake city so much.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. My grandfather had a big crane set city thing that unfortunately we couldn't take the table. We had nowhere for it, but like, I still have some of the trains and stuff, but it's just that cool, like,
yeah. I just don't have the discipline for it.
If
but I love seeing it.
If you're in the northern Colorado area and you've never been, there is a model train museum over in Greeley, and it is terrific. It is absolutely terrific. They have amazing.
So cool.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many rail lines they've got going through there, but
oh my gosh,
just spectacular. And
it is something you have to see.
Yeah.
As a nerd, I'm sure you all had that point where you're like, love model trains or anything like that. That museum is incredible.
I have this every year. I have this like this excitement that builds up in me as a dad, but it's also like a fear. Like I have this. I wouldn't say call it terror, but it's like this fear. So every year when we put up the Christmas tree, we have a train that we put underneath the Christmas tree, and every year since Jackson's been old enough, he was born in October. So the first year he wasn't really, but at his 1 year, he was right next to the track, just watching this train. He was so excited for the train, and he just turned 7. And every year I have a video of him laying on his stomach, laying next to this train. I have pictures of him laying next to it. And so the older he gets, I love it so much. I love seeing him down there and that excitement for the train. And like I said, the terror is, I know one of these Christmases he's not gonna care. Like he's not gonna do that, and that breaks my heart. I'm like really scared of that. Of that moment. But I try and cherish every year when we break that thing out, his excitement. Like even tonight, he's playing with the train. He's got Mickey Mouse and Goofy on there and Donald Duck, and he gets his Legos out.
Hey,
and he's got his army men.
Have a while.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gonna.
Yeah,
the toys get more elaborate. He'll start putting them on there, and
Well,
even if it was me, I would do that right now.
Right.
I'd be like, oh, look at this train.
We just built this Avatar. For his birthday, he got this Avatar Banshee kit, and so it's got 2 Banshees, and so we built one the other night. And so he's got that thing on top of it, and it's going around, the train track and stuff. So I don't know. It just is great. It's really great. But it will be really sad because he's the youngest we have, and so once that's gone, it's gone forever, until the grandkids come around. But
be like 40 and coming over to your house, being like, Dad, it's time to put up the train.
It's time to put up the train. I'll be like, you know what, son? Like, this makes me so happy.
We have a train that can go under our tree, and I stopped putting it out because my girls love to wreck the train, and I just can't keep all
My
of
Roomba.
Right, just keep going.
My Roomba likes to wreck the
is
train
like
right now.
putting
Yeah.
the freaking train tracks back together is like the worst. But it's a really cool
It's
Polar
always a
Express
pain in the
train.
ass to line the wheels up right on the track for some damn
Oh
reason.
yeah, yes, yes.
Especially the
That's
narrow
hardest-
gauge
that's
ones
the
get those
hardest
really
part.
narrow and they're like the
Oh,
little
yeah.
miniature wheels.
That's
I'm like, I can't see
ridiculous.
that anymore.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, no. I mean, it when it's going, it's really cool. It plays music. It's Polar Express train. It's really good, and the
Oh, that's
girls
cool.
love it. But then they like just taking the train off the track, and I'm like, just don't do that. And they're like, nope, we're just gonna move the whole train
More
off.
fun
the
to
track.
do this.
Yeah. Good stuff. We are nearing Christmas at a breakneck pace, and it's good to kind of take stock
Another
and
awesome Christmas episode.
remember the beauty of the holiday spirit and season. Absolutely, we're doing a holiday episode. In fact, probably should start getting that scheduled put together tonight, and start seeing when that would be best for us to get on. But yeah, keep an eye out for our Christmas special this year.
Might have to make that
Might have to go bigger and bolder this year, mate. I don't know what that means because we went pretty bold last year. So we'll figure it out. Be a
Lot
good
of
time.
booze.
I've been reaching out to Krasinski. I haven't heard back yet.
Morgan,
Just don't
Yeah.
stop.
Morgan, get your Captain Morgan out and get it ready.
Oh man,
That's what I like to hear.
this is the only time Morgan's allowed to drink on
It's
this.
the only time I'm allowed to drink. Yes.
I think it's in the guidelines here
For
for all of you. We had to add that in here. Let me
Edit to the
let me
contract.
get this here. Yeah,
Paragraph
here it is,
26.
right here.
Mhm. Line 28,
Guideline
I believe.
32B. Morgan is
Yeah.
only allowed to
Yep.
drink.
Morgan's only allowed to have more than one glass on the Christmas episode. A reasonable sized glass as well.
Listen,
Comically large
um,
glasses.
It used to be the obviously was the drinking word, but when Morgan started intentionally saying obviously multiple times per episode, we had to
Well,
institute
Obviously,
some.
it's obviously going to be obviously my favorite. I mean,
Yeah.
You see what you're doing there. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Hopefully you guys are excited as well, because that was a lot of fun last year.
That
and
was.
Yep.
We have
It'll
to
be
make it
good.
as fun, if not more fun this year. So got to get going on some ideas. This week was a lot of fun. Pretty crazy rundown. The DC stuff is dramatic, and I think it will be for a while until probably for a couple of years. We'll get false reports, we'll get real reports, but
and then one day
again,
we'll just get a trailer.
trusting in James Gunn, I think, is the best way to go moving forward. So
Agreed.
whatever decision he makes, even if it's no Cavill on the Superman, it's going to be heartbreaking, but we'll trust the process with James Gunn, and that will just free up Henry Cavill to be Cyclops, Scott Summers. So I'm good with it.
Ooh.
Anyway, can't wait for Jedi Survivor. I know you are too, Mark. So
Oh, yeah.
we'll dig into that as we get closer to release, which was I don't think we
March
announced that.
17th, 2023.
March 17th. We are 3 months away, which we are eating good up until that point, and then I think we even get the Mandalorian that month. It's Star Wars month.
Yep. We got
Kestis has to come into live action at
He
some
will.
point.
He will.
and
What are you
Avatar
saying?
this weekend, 16th, comes out on the 16th.
I couldn't help
In Jim Cameron, we trust as well,
And-
right?
the guy that plays Cal. I couldn't help but notice that he looked just like him when he was out there doing something at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
He had the beard,
after
the same haircut. So I'm just saying, he was also doing some lightsaber moves.
Yeah, he did twirl that thing. I mean, come on, it just makes too much sense. It would be so awesome to see.
I'd rather
Yeah.
that than so good spinoff.
Seriously. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on the news over the next week. We'll talk about it next week. Again, presents all the shows coming back next year with some of the big stuff coming out. Recaps of Last of Us. Can't wait for that. Got some really great stuff coming up for presents next year. So very, very excited to close this year out. Got a couple more episodes before we do that. But all that being said, see you all next week on the Nerd Rundown.
Bye.
Ooh, I haven't heard that in a while.
It's back, man.
Back. I can't wait to
They got a break.
comment on that one.